said, I'm sure it's not gonna happen again, so we don't have to worry about it, but I just want to make sure that we get that on the record. So please proceed with your next witness.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing, and we're gonna go to lunch at noon. Okay.
All right, Mr. Tan, can you please state your name and occupation for the record, please?
My name is Tang. I'm a Tang social engineer. I've been practicing social engineering for 26 years.
And what is your education background?
I'm civil engineering and engineering license as a structural engineer license.
So you're a licensed structural engineer.
Correct. My license number is SE 4433.
Can you bring the mic closer to your mouth?
I'm sorry. My engineering license number is SE 4433.
How long have you been a structural engineer?
I've been licensed since 2000, so I've been maybe 25 years.
What do you do as a structural engineer?
As a structure, I ensure the building is safe. I do ensure building stability and building and other structures. Design, analyze, and oversee the construction of structure. Ensure it can withstand various forces, including load, dead load, light load, seismic load, wind loads, anything that could affect buildings, including anchor the structure that moves the site. And also collaborate with other professional engineering, manage projects, and ensure compliance with building codes and regulations. And especially, when I add, as a structural engineer, I really appreciate being official, check my plan, make sure I double checked it, make sure it goes through it, I have no issue. Because bottom line is, as a structural engineer, I'm highly liable for anything going wrong with buildings. So I'm grateful for these guys. We got second set of eye. Thank you. Especially the inspector on the job site too, to ensure that the construction is built per my plan. Bottom line is, I'm still liable.
And thank you. And have you previously worked in other capacities before?
Yes,
And where?
I have worked as a consultant for plan check for DSA.
And what is the DSA?
DSA is a state department of state architects in San Diego.
So you've had a lot of experience reviewing plans.
Correct.
And have you a lot of experience drafting building plans?
Yes, I have been preparing structural engineering service since I graduated from college.
And as part of your experience, have you identified corrections to construction projects before?
Yes, on many of the projects I'm involved with, I have the contractor correct existing condition, especially in a case like this one, with existing unreinforced brick wall is aged and structurally compromised.
All right, and are you familiar with the property located at 118 through 126 North Harbor Street?
Yes, I visited the site and documented existing structural conditions. In addition, I performed a preliminary structural analysis of the way it is right now.
And what did you do in this case?
I did a thorough inspection of two-story addition located at 118, 126 North Harbor Street. Existing condition of the structure, identified potential problems, and determined whether the structure adhered to relative California building code, regulation, and safety standard. I also reviewed documents such as the plan and permit that was provided to me. I took a photo and video of the existing conditions and did a preliminary analysis of the structure systems, the way it is right now, all the frames, and any other stuff in there. And I also put on my planning for this redistribution.
And what is your methodology when it comes to analyzing the structural condition of the building?
Say that again.
What is your methodology to determine the structural stability of a building?
First of all, I want to study the existing plan that we have on hand, understand the site conditions when it is built out there, and looking for weakness of the structure, because the building cost, the weakest link is the one that was causing the building to collapse. We're looking for those kind of stuff that we're very cautious about.
And have you formed an opinion in this case?
Yes, I did.
And did you identify any major areas of concern?
Yes.
And what are they?
Major concerns.
Are the wooden joists one area of concern? All right, can we turn to
Can we
exhibit
see
one?
Yes. That picture right there shows 2-story buildings that have not seen a permit for. I've seen a permit issue for canopy that is at 15 feet 6 inches in height. This building here is 22 feet some area to 24 feet because the roof slopes, and has a mass floor area. The original design approved was 1,350 square feet, as previously mentioned. But this building here is actually much bigger. It's over 4,000 square feet. Each floor times 2, that's over 8,000 square feet.
And this is the 2-story patio that we're talking about.
Yes, this is 2-story patio.
Can we turn to the next page, please?
This is the side view.
And I noticed you have an arrow that says seismic. What does that mean?
In event of a seismic, think of that seismic that go any directions. It's 360 degrees. Imagine that seismic force pulling that buildings from left to the left side of us. It would drag that masonry buildings with it, that unreinforced masonry.
And we'll get into that, but the building on the right, that's the restaurant building, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's turn to the next page. So you said you conducted an inspection of the patio, is that correct?
Correct.
And what did you see there?
On this picture here, you can see the plywood sheeting. The plywood sheeting has been exposed to weather for an extended period of time, as evident by warping and curving. You see the next picture, you see that there. The plywood has been laminated. It says some of the pictures shown pointed as being pulled apart by the weather. And a weakened structural integrity of the rendering unsafe on that one. Would not recommend anybody go up there and walk around.
And what is this photo depict?
This is a photo picturing the plywood sheeting for the shear, connecting the addition roof to the masonry wall, to the unreinforced brick wall.
So are you saying the patio is resting on the restaurant building?
Correct.
In other words, the restaurant building is bearing the load of patio.
Correct.
All right. Next photo. What are we looking at here?
When I mentioned one thing about that picture, you mentioned it.
Oh,
The CMU wall, the unreinforced brick itself, was originally designed to carry its own weight. We are now adding roof and floor load onto it. I have not seen any justification that building, foundation, and wall can carry that load.
and that was in reference to the prior picture?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And what about this image?
This is showing the I-joist, the roof, plywood on top of I-joist. I-joist hang off 2 pieces of double layer plywood sheetings. And also you can see the plywood showing aging due to weather. Also the I-joist itself. The I-joist is the composite of a top coat, bottom core, and plywood in the middle. And also the wood beam itself.
So what is an I-joist?
I-joist is composite of laminated top cord wood.
And what is it meant to do?
It meant to span. It meant to carry the load, to span the floor load, roof load between beams.
And are we looking at the roof or the floor, second floor?
We are currently looking at the roof.
Okay. So the I-joist is meant to support the wood beam holding up the roof.
Correct.
And you indicated that it was nailed into 2 sheets of plywood.
Yes.
And is that an issue?
That's a major issue.
Why?
The hanger is not made to do that. And the next picture will show that conditions there. But before you go there, you see the 2 pieces of plywood. Can we zoom in that little bit picture? Up a little bit, please. See the weather exposed plywood shims? It is being pulled outward because of water expansion. With wood soaked in water, it tends to expand. And it dry, it does go back to where it is. It just causes the wood. And the I-joist, the top line I-joist hanger there is hanging off that double layer of 2x plywoods. Okay. And that's a no-no because the top flange is nails on top of beams. Plywood has joints in between them. When you put 2 pieces of plywood and next to another beam, you have 2 joints in there. Next picture, I'll show you the reason why. Picture next. There's a beam. You zoom in that top portion. Okay. You see there's a double layer plywood. It's about ½ inch thick from my vision from the ground up. Top portion, please. Top one, please. The top flange hanger, the eye joist, according to the nails to the edge of plywood, is not structurally acceptable. As the nails try to penetrate that plywood, it hits between the plywood or on the plywood or next to the beam. That is no, you don't have the value of those structure.
Now, was that the only example that you saw?
Specific.
Now, were there other eye joists that were nailed in similar fashion in this patio?
I do. It does have that.
And do you have a rough idea how many?
Quite a bit. Majority of the portions on the north section of the roof has that.
So many portions of the roof are being held up with joists that are nailed into plywood.
If you go to the photo, the picture, page 3 of the PDF drawings, back. Okay, that forward. That one there. And let's see. Okay, could you zoom out? Okay. There's that beam that you're looking at right across there, the bottom portion. Bottom left. Put it back up. The beam at the bottom of the screen, it goes left to right. That's the beam that has that shim plate there. And then the beam on the top portion that's not visible on this picture also has that.
So there are several areas where you have this issue.
Yes.
All right. And what is your conclusion as to the wood and joists of this patio structure?
The roof sheet is already weather exposed, has so much deteriorations already and delaminations on that. And the eye joist is constructed of the same type of material, laminated wood member, glued together to form the top and bottom cord. And the hanger on top flange are not structurally sound with its nails. The installation is considered improper by today's standard and manufacturer's requirements.
So, in other words, the wood element of this structure is not sound.
No, it's not.
And could that result in a collapse?
Say that again?
And could that result in a collapse of the structure?
Whereas the way it stands right now, nobody's touching it in there. It will stay in there for a little bit longer.
But it is continually being weathered and weakening, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, let's go to the, did you also see any issues with the masonry wall?
Yes.
All right, can you discuss that a little bit more?
Could I back up, answer another question on the previous picture a second? That wood beam that are in the middle there is also weathered and it's also showing signs of weakness. And also stated in Microsoft's report that wood beams at the last page of this paper. Mr. Song's exhibit E. It said that the exterior vertical face of perimeter PSL beam at 124 and 126 Harbor show weather damage.
So even the property owner's engineer agrees that this is unsound.
Questions? If the beam is in question, eye joist is a much smaller material built of the same type of laminations, glue. Plywood is also veneer sheet that is using glue, exposed a long period of time and weather, is very highly questioned and safety is concerned.
And the owner's engineer has raised similar concerns.
Yes, the original engineers is still May 17, 2024, item number 2, obviously statements.
All right, so let's turn to the masonry wall now. And just to be clear, this is the masonry wall that belongs to the restaurant building, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, how is that relevant to the patio?
This one here, you talk about this particular picture here.
Not that's a particular picture, but in general, why is the wall relevant to the patio?
The wall right now we're using to bear the floor load and the roof load. The way it is right now, you zoom in, you see a lot of hollow space in between the brick wall. Zoom in, you can zoom down, I'll probably have a picture down below. A large picture. Roll down with me. Next, up, back, up, up.
No, go back.
Go back.
There you go.
Is there a picture of the bottom portion? And enlarge it? Let me see if I have that picture. Okay, there. See that picture right there? You see all the void space in between that brick wall?
And what's a void?
What is an air space?
And are there supposed to be voids between bricks?
In the old day construction, that is considered normal.
But nowadays?
Now we don't recommend that. We don't recommend unreinforced brick wall anymore.
Is the structure, is the patio connected to the masonry wall?
Yes.
And is it kind of when connected, is it like bolted together, then how is it connected?
It has a ledger and beam that has a bucket attached to it. You can see in Mr. Shaw's plans and pictures too.
So the patio is basically bolted into the wall.
That's correct.
Bolted into the wall. Correct. Okay. And so the condition of the wall would affect the condition of the patio. Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right. And what is the condition of the wall besides what you just showed us?
Condition of the wall right now, just take the Olympics picture, you see what I mean. Okay. Video, please show the video. There's 2 video on it. 3 video actually. 2 video first.
And what's happening here?
You see this picture here, the grout has deteriorated so much it's more like a powder like that. Just brush it off on my hand. And that's created a bunch of things in between the grout cell. Next video. This is the existing condition. I can pull a hole right through when I screw all the way in. And all the grout I just push around, that just is there right now, just move around.
Now, is that normal for a brick wall?
That's not normal. This is structurally unsound.
So the cement in between the bricks basically turning into powder.
Correct. That is falling off.
Next video. Let's hold on. I'll hold it up for now.
We'll come back to this one later.
All right, so let's go back to the picture. All right.
You see my pen right there, my red pen? I stick it all the way in.
And that's to the bottom, right?
That's to the bottom. That's a ground cell. That's not in there. I see the brown portion there. That's insulation. It's still in the void space.
So that's foam being used to fill in the void.
Correct.
And is that allowed for?
It's not structurally sound.
No.
When you say it's not structurally sound, are you talking about by today's engineering standards or based upon the age and condition of this particular building?
It's just leaving a gravity of the void down. If you have a void space, it's like void in the home.
So, basically, despite its age, you're saying that despite the building's age, you think that the building is going to fall down based upon the condition of the building?
Building right now has a certain portion of void space inside. This is double layer brick wall. We are not stressing the main portion of the wall. Think of this wall here has 2 layers. One layer you look at right here, another layer is at the back side of the buildings. That layer analysis is carrying the load that this guy's cannot carry. This section cannot carry.
Okay, next photo. What are we looking at here?
This is my pen. I'm showing that how far I'm poking in. I hit nothing.
Now, normally, could anybody stick anything between bricks that far?
You can't do that. I really don't.
And what does that indicate with that amount of space?
That amount of space is telling that there's a structural issue. This wall will get addressed before something happens.
All right, next image. And what are we looking at here?
This is a similar picture showing again on the ground south across. You see on the bottom portions, it's not just one piece of block or two pieces of block. It's a whole entire along the bottom portions, just like that. And I could just brush my hand with my screw just across. It's coming. That's how bad it is.
So the cement that's holding bricks wall together is turning to powder, and it's gotten missing enough that there are plenty of voids in between the bricks.
Correct.
And you indicated earlier that this brick wall is bearing the load of the patio structure.
Correct.
And the patio, sorry, go ahead.
This brick wall is currently, the way the structure is framed, this brick wall is carrying the roof load and also the floor, the dining hall area
Of the restaurant building.
of the restaurant, of the two-story addition.
And you also said that the patio is bolted to this brick wall.
Correct.
All right, let's go to the next photo. What are we looking at here?
This is a picture close by the gas line there on the existing brick wall dwelling. You see the big gap there? That's showing a sign of foundation settlements. It's a portion of them falling down here, not just a split there.
All right, and what kind of concerns does that present?
That's telling me if it's the foundations, it's also very questionable, and I would not putting an additional load on this wall until I find out more details about it.
All right, next image. And what is this image depicting?
This picture lets you see the brick wall on top of this is missing piece. They just built this wall, bearing wall on top of unreinforced brick wall. Some of this brick walls already came off, and that's why you have a hole in the top there. And you see the on the side view there, I said you have void space there. There's a lot of void space in these brick wall additions.
And that's where the patio is resting on top of the
Correct. That's the roof that is resting on top of this brick wall right now.
All right, let's go to the next page.
This picture here, you expect to see this the brick here has no ground around it. It's pretty, I would assume it's pretty loose right now. Or it's just resting on top of it.
So for all we know, this thing could be resting on top of these bricks.
I just don't know this real quick.
All right, let's go to the next page.
This is a picture of crack in a brick wall and void space between bricks.
And it looks like the crack is running across through your type of image. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what does that tell you?
That's usually telling you stress shears in the wall.
And what does that mean? Stress shears.
That's the wall system stability of the roof systems that make me more questions of putting an additional load on this wall or asking it to take seismic load of additional two-story building.
All right, next one. And what is this image depict?
This is a picture of entry from the back two-story patio into the buildings. It's showing a wall crack, lintel already cracked in shears. And that portion is not addressed. I don't see any address. I did see is a couple of loopholes or trims that trying to hold it up. In between that gap is still insulations.
And would insulation solve any of the issues that you've been looking at so far?
That insulation looked like a foam insulation as a liquid and come out of a can and it's expanding inside there. It has no structural value.
Okay. Next image.
That's the same big pictures, looking at the angle, showing the foam inside that portion there. As you see the large crack on top there. And that crack, I cannot visual where it goes, but this is inside the buildings of this brick wall. The outside is the issue. And I can't see how far it goes up.
Okay, next image.
And This is another brick wall picture after picture showing there's void space between bricks.
All right, and can you explain what this image shows?
This image showing, you can go up a little bit. Oh, okay. Zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. Okay. You see this? I draw sections of this brick wall. There's two layers, and in between these brick ground bonded together. Okay. You see the height on that. Left side is existing structure roof climbing to the brick wall. On the right side is a roof sitting on top of the brick wall on the back end of it. And then the bottom portion is a deck tying to the brick wall. Could you zoom in that red statement there, please? Okay. I'm staring at an event of seismic events. Doing an addition may move back and forth. Forward against the wall, pull against the wall, rough up the unreinforced brick wall. The different movement can pull a section of the brick with it, especially when you asked a question earlier, how does this floor connect to it? It has a ledger, all two epoxy of this brick. When this portion is moved, earthquake force pushing on the right side, that floor will pull that brick out of it. Once it pulls out of it, this same ground will do the rest of its job, taking it down.
And can you show the last video?
That's the last video. You see the steel columns. This is a section showing the 3 column with in between showing brown color. The gray color is our steel posts. I call it posts. I don't call it I don't call it columns because it doesn't function as a column. It's a post in many ways. Canopy post, like a light pole.
And the right side is supposed to be where the block wall is located, right?
Correct.
All right.
The right side where the 2 green dot is there, that is where we're representing brick wall. As the wall move away, from it to the left, it would drag where it is connected to, it would pull that block with it, and it will collapse the building. This is showing one direction. It could also opposite direction. If the frame goes right wide, it will push that block and roll that wall out to the side.
So in the event of an earthquake, this patio will basically wobble back and forth.
Yes,
And
especially this is a structural system of cantilever columns. We call it flexible, and also the floor and the roof are called flexible diaphragm. Because it's flexible means it can move a little bit and damage.
So
brick wall.
So based on the movement, you're saying this can pull apart the brick wall,
Correct.
and then it can move back and hit the brick wall.
Correct.
So are you saying that a flexible building should not be attached to a rigid building?
Flexible building should not attach an unreinforced brick wall.
And now, in this scenario, is it possible for both that brick wall and the patio to collapse?
If you pull a section of that brick away, gravity do the rest of the job, will collapse the buildings.
So both can probably fall down. All right, can we go to the next page?
So there was a permit for a 15 one-story building or patio, and the patio, making an assumption, was supposed to be connected to the brick wall as it existed in the permit. So if they were to build the patio cover to the permit, would you have the same concerns?
Yes.
So even if it was permitted, then it would still be potentially a structural challenge, would you think?
This is where I really appreciate the plan checkers, inspectors, see this thing on site, prevent this issue besides the structure especially over the examples. So another engineering, the check my plan and question you bring up, I would really appreciate it. I'll take out for dinner for that city, what he's done for it. this kind of case could be a major issue.
And just to be clear, you weren't involved in any of the original plan shifting, were you?
I did not review the existing plan.
When did you do the plan? When did you become involved?
Just about,
Oh, we should cover that.
we said about, let's
All right. What is this? Go next image. All right. What is this image here?
This is a picture of a wood beam on top of the roof and a deck that is attached to a steel post. See the bottom portion of that? See the bottom portion there? That has a small pad footing, 2 foot square, and a footing to tie around it. Just think of this thing here, a seismic earthquake hits it. If you have a car up there that weighs 3,000 pounds, because of the height, did you zoom in at red things at red wood? You see that? Because of the height and leverage effect of the growth seismic force, will be amplified to 16 times the base force. While the dining deck, which is lower, will amplify about 8 times the base force. To put it in perspective, one car weighs 3,000 pounds. Our roof, the way it is right now, weighs about 16,000 pounds. Just the plywood and the I-joist. I'm not talking about anything else. It's a plywood and I-joist. You take that about 6 pounds per square foot times the area. If that's to move left or right, it will produce a 3,000 pound will produce a 48,000 pound force leverage at the base. You zoom at the base of the bottom footing there. Zoom it out, you see a little more. You see the lever 4, I put a 2 arrow at the bottom portion there. That's the lever trying to hold the roof force moving to the left. You have a coupling force trying to resist that.
So the footing here has to resist 16 times the weight of the rest of the building?
Correct.
Okay. And based on the existing footings, do you believe they can do that?
No.
Why?
Because some of the columns that look at the end, the footing is only, the per plan of Microsoft is like 18 by 24 inches footing. It may have struck up to 24 inches deep because of the graphics, but the statement on the grade beam, G1, do you have the plan that show that thing? It's only 18 by 24.
So in other words, the footings were designed for a one-story covered patio, is that correct?
The footing, I need to look at Bakerson's construction calculation to justify that, but I do not have that calculation to understand how it comes about. But to give perspective, a light pole footings that goes about 20 feet high will have a footings about 2 foot diameter, 5 foot deep at minimum.
So the footings as currently designed cannot support this patio structure in an earthquake.
The footing design, the poles of footing design currently right the way it is not designed for 2-story. They have designed for 1-story, but not. May have designed for the light trellis canopy that I'm not involved in, but definitely not for these 2-story large building of 4,000 square foot each. They'll put the 2 together, and that would be 8,000 square foot space. Roof is about 4,000, the floor about 4,000.
Times 16 in an earthquake.
The time HTC is just a factor I use a leverage by. But the dead load, if the build is built, the dead load of the build is 14 pounds per square foot. Times that 4,000 square foot is a huge number. And then slightly moving on these columns would really collapse.
All right. So what is your overall assessment about this patio structure?
This 2-story construction, the way it is right now, is unsafe.
And why?
Because it would collapse and it would go.
And Well, and can you summarize the elements that you identified as problem areas?
The masonry, the unreinforced masonry that we anchor to, that is unsafe, given an earthquake moves, the core section that break down will collapse that wall, and any load on top of it will come down to it. The second portion is, these columns are not designed or engineered by Mr. Song, as I understand that. I haven't seen the plan to carry this kind of load. On top of that, this frame system is considered flexible column because it will move back and right in that earthquake, where brick wall buildings will not move much, and it will tear itself. That solution is separate.
And the issues with the wood and eye joists could also contribute to this issue, yes?
The wooden eye joist will be the weight. Where this, for example, you take a table on top of a floor on an earthquake, it will shift left and right, or move across the floor. Same thing as an eye joist and plywood. Those come with weight, it will move left and right, whatever direction the earthquake hits. And these steel posts has to hold it in place. If you imagine just weight on top 24 feet and you're pushing it around, it will flex. The car will give way, it will flex. And anything that anchors the brick wall, it will take it.
And does this patio structure currently have enough lateral resistance to withstand the earthquake?
No, absolutely not.
Now,
Not by this code, by California building code right now.
now, the city's recommendation in this case is to demolish the entire patio structure. Would that resolve all the issues you've identified today?
Yes, it will.
Now, assuming hypothetically that the property owner can repair this patio structure somehow, what do you need to see to show competent repairs?
Well, let's go back to picture again. What are there to save? The plywood is no longer good. Eye joist is compromised. The beam, the PSL beam, is questioned by Mr. Song and I himself. What is there out to keep on that section, both sections? You have a columns. And the footings also in questions of carrying this kind of load. The pad at the bottom is 24 inches square. I don't see any beneficial for the owner to save this building and try to do something. But if he does want to, I don't know what to say.
Now let's assume that it were possible, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Would you require any immediate shoring on the structure?
If they want to go that route, they can then do shore it separate from the buildings and provide shoring or some type of shoring of this building from roots.
And how quickly can that be done?
That should be done within weeks. I would not put it too long, as short as possible.
30 days?
I would say. I would like that.
And would they need a structural engineer to provide, would they need a structural engineer?
I would highly recommend a structural engineer look at it again clearly and provide some kind of shoring plans or some type of shoring plans to hold laterally and prevent earthquake and disconnect it from the buildings, from masonry, unreinforced brick wall.
And then just to be clear, under normal circumstances, should the patio be connected to that block wall?
The way it is designed, as I understand the code section and reality how it works, I would highly recommend don't connect.
And would that structural engineer or the property owner need to address all the issues that you identified today in the plans?
I would hope so.
All right, that's it for the city.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep it simple. You indicated earlier today that the plywood had shown essentially some pretty substantial weathering. Is that right?
Correct.
And I think you said that in some of the areas the plywood was bowing. Is that right?
And delaminated.
Okay, what is delaminated?
Plywood are made out of ear shields of piece of computer. They glue together. That glue that had come off over expanding material. When plywood soaked in water, the cell enlarge. The glue in between it become loose, and that's where the lamination is appears.
Okay, and well, let me ask you this. The photos that you've been discussing this morning, when were those taken?
That is taken, let's take a look.
Today's the 3rd of September.
It was Friday, I took it on Friday.
So 29. Does August 15th sound about right? It was a Friday, right?
It was a Friday.
Okay.
I think it was a Friday. I'm not too good with sure my exact date, but it's in October. No,
August.
August.
Okay. So a couple weeks ago. Okay. Now, this
August 22nd.
August 22nd?
It's August 22nd.
The plywood, could that be taken out and replaced with plywood or something else to make that issue safe?
Well, we haven't taken the plywood out. I enjoy also the questions.
Well, I'm going to get to that one.
Okay, be about the questions.
Okay, so I'm just going to focus on the plywood. So let's say there were no other issues and it was just the plywood.
We don't have that problem.
Well, I know,
Okay.
but I'm going to go piece by piece here.
Okay.
Could you remove the plywood and either replace it or with new plywood or something else that would make that part of the problem safer?
First of all, let's look at it. You just talked about replacing the plywood and making the plywood safe. The structure itself is not safe. But you just address the portion first only. To answer the question, just the plywood, replace the plywood, yeah.
Okay. Now, you talked about this I-joist,
Mhm.
and there were several issues that you mentioned with respect to the I-joist. And I don't want to misquote you, but I believe that you said that the I-joist wouldn't be appropriate for the current building code standards.
I did not say that.
Okay, so what exactly was wrong with the I-joist?
I'm saying I-joist of construction similar material to the PSL beams to make our wood glue together, top and bottom quarter done that way. The plywood are made of laminated piece of small sheet of wood glued together. If the PSL is that big, like Microsoft says, also a question with the weather. I-beam, as you can see there, is also very questioned about the structural integrity.
Okay, and would you recommend the changing out of those I-joists, or would you recommend something completely different to make that part of the problem safe?
I would leave that to the engineer to design that. Because I bet right now, understand, I-joist is short with a shim piece on it.
Say that again?
The I-joist is a little short, and then add shim piece to the beam to connect to it. That's not safe. So taking that replace exactly the same thing is not going to do the job because the weakest link of the structure is the one that we want to make sure. As long as it fell, too.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm understanding. So the I-joist is a little short.
It is short, right?
So an I-joist that would be safer would be one that was longer. Is that correct? In addition to other things.
The I-joist right now is a little short to its very points. If you have to take out the plywood shim, the I-joist would be long to connect to the beams.
Okay, so are you saying to take out
So-
the wooden shim or?
I would recommend take out the wood shims and replace the I-joist if that's what you're looking to
To make it as safe as possible, your recommendation would be take out the wooden shim and change out the I-joist.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now I want to talk to you about the masonry and the brick. You had a couple of videos and a couple of photos that shows that void area was kind of like dust, and that dust, is it fair to say that is a natural part of the process with a building getting older?
With kids, yes.
Okay. And you use the term reinforced brick wall. What exactly does that mean?
This building has been reinforced by seismically out plane flow only. Did not address the very low gravity. Void space of this nature should be re-grout back, reinstalled back, or put some kind of material to strengthen it.
Okay, so you're indicating that in those void spaces where there's either nothing or there's just that powder, it needs to be regrouted or filled with something to make it safe.
I did not fully understand. I did not fully analyze this.
Mhm.
That would be one solution's possibility.
Okay, so is it fair to say that there would be a couple solutions possible to fill that void space?
Say that again.
Is there a couple solutions possible to fill that void space in between the bricks?
Possible, but also the thing is, you fill the space, other portion of that inside is also loose. How do you get them out? If you use a sandblast and clean it out, you'll clean the whole thing out there. So it's really weak right now.
Okay,
And it's hard. I mean, it's case by case, day by day, more detailed, understand the situation, but we have the issue.
okay, so it's possible you're just not 100% sure at this point.
I'm not sure right now.
Okay. And that area, you talked a little bit, there was an exhibit that was a white wall where there was a crack close to, I believe it was the gas line, and you had mentioned something about the. So what does that mean? That the foundation is settling too far, or what in,
Let's take a look at that picture again.
I don't remember which one it was.
I found it.
It's the one with the white line.
Yeah, it's probably about page 13 down. Back a little bit. How about go back 13 down? Oh, after that one. After that one. One more. One more.
There it is.
And you see the foundation on the left side, on the bottom right corner. You zoom in there. A lot of dirt is going over in there. I see the foundation there is settled in.
Mhm.
See the bricks in the fall of it.
Mhm.
And that's just pointing down the separations. Right now, the wall's trying to find equilibrium. Equilibrium's the foundation there is loose.
Okay, so something would need to be done to secure that area of the foundation and other areas that were compromised in this fashion.
This only area I looked at it, or this area right here.
Okay, and you didn't see any other areas where the foundation was compromised?
Most of the areas is covered, I cannot see.
Okay.
Very good question. Has there been any seismic analysis of this building?
I did a brief analysis on that. That's what I call that load of frames.
What about seismic retrofitting that is taking place or seismic permits?
I have not looked at that. I haven't studied that.
Do you know if it's actually taking place?
Well, speaking of that, are you aware that there's been 4 earthquakes in Hemet in the last 24 hours?
No. How big of it?
I don't know. I just know that there's 2.5.
That's pretty small.
Okay. Or that there's been 19 earthquakes in the last 7 days.
Earthquake happens in California on a regular basis. A small thing. It's understood.
Right.
The phrase is life saving. The building code is specifically tied to both see the issue. And that's why during the official, I really appreciate checking my plan, make sure this is safe.
So you said that there's a lot of earthquakes in California. Hemet, in the last year, there's been 844, right?
Yes, it's minor, right? They're big.
I mean, I think that there's probably a range of them, anywhere from 2.5 to 4, with most of them being, the more minor, right?
I'm not aware of those stuff because I'm not here. I don't see any feeling. I didn't feel any ground movement or anything this whole day. That you said there's 4. I didn't feel anything today.
Okay. And so I want to talk to you about the footings. Did you have an opportunity to take your time and look at the footings and how they were made up?
I have up to now. No. That's what's going to be.
Okay.
But you look at the picture there, it's just brick and a little bit of concrete on the bottom. Is that what your question is?
No, it's just you mentioned that the akined it to kind of like a flagpole, and that those steel beams are kind of like a flagpole going into the ground. I think it was 24 inches, right?
I didn't say 24 inches.
Okay. And did you look and see if there was anything else, like grade beams, that were assisting in, kind of spreading the load of those beams and footings?
You talk about the post trying to carry lateral load or vertical load?
The lateral.
Lateral, as I expect the pictures like that, you see the columns. You show that the picture again? It would be toward the end of it. One more. See the bottom? Show the bottom portion, please. The footing right now, per Microsoft's plan, is 18 by 24. And that's 18 inches wide, 24 inches deep. On its details, it's shown as 24 by 24. I'll take it as 24 by 24, get it doubt. The edge of column, that little shade area is at the end of it. In the event of an earthquake or the movement of a column above, that piece of concrete is barely reinforced as one rebar number 5 on top and bottom that turn on a corner. That kind of force would rip that little piece of concrete off easily.
Okay, so I guess like back to my question, did you look at the bottoms of the beams and see that there was the grade beams there at the bottom where the footing is?
That's the footing I'm showing right now.
Okay, and just to be clear, the grade beams are essentially steel and reinforced concrete, correct?
Yes, but this particular portion here, the footing is on 18 by 24. Worst case is 24 by 24. Reinforced with 2 number 5 top and bottom. I would not consider that as a grade beam to carry this 2-story buildings.
Okay. Now, with respect to carrying the building, in order to make that safe, is it possible to take off 7 feet of the steel beams and make it safer?
This building right now, I'm addressing this 2-story building with nesting deck. You're asking me a question of going back to 15 feet 4 inches. I'll leave that to Michael Song's plan and information and approval. That might do that.
Okay, so you didn't review Mr. Song's approval or package or anything?
I believe we're here to address these 2-story buildings. I'm here to address the 2-story building the way the condition is right now. If you're asking me about other portions, it's 15 feet 6 inches, and how it's all framed connections, we can go in that detail and show you something.
Okay, so you didn't go into that much detail. Okay. So is it fair to say you wouldn't be able to answer whether or not cutting the steel beam or putting the footings in deeper than 24 inches and how that would impact the safety of the building with respect to that particular piece of the issue?
If you're taking down the column to 15 feet 4 inches, you lose the roof. Then now you have the floor that's about 12 inches deep up high. What is that purpose of doing that?
Well, I'm not asking you to
I'm trying to
surmise
understand
on
your
what the,
questions.
well, I'm trying to understand, there's obviously a discrepancy here with the 15 feet 5 inches, 15 feet 4 inches versus the 22 feet. So how to make that part of the issue safer? And from what it sounds like, at least according to Javier, was that potentially taking off 7 feet would aid in that safety issue, or potentially putting the beams in deeper in the ground than 24 inches. And so I'm asking you if that is a possible solution.
And just for clarification, are you asking it for a 2-story building or for a 1-story building?
Exactly the way it is now, which everybody's been calling 2-story.
Okay, what would you call it?
I mean, I don't think it's 2-story, but I'm not the structural engineer.
Okay, so is it, given that it's going to be, the proposal is for it to stay at 2 stories, what would need to happen in order to maintain it as 2 stories and make it safe?
I yield to Sheila before, but to answer your questions, first of all, this structure attaches to brick wall as a major issue there. Cutting down to 15 feet does not comply with the requirement of 2-story.
Okay.
Because each floor has to have an 8-foot clear. And you times 2, that's 16. I haven't talked about the joints of the roof yet. So that does not even make sense to do. And what I'm now interested in is this building is safe in general. I don't see a safe way of cutting down to 15 feet and keep it 2-story. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If somebody went in and was able to make the steel beams safe, whether that's putting them in the ground deeper, making them shorter, or whatever, you have somebody work on that reinforced brick wall, making sure that there's grout or whatever viable solution to fill those void spaces. The plywood is changed out, the I-joints are changed out. Do you think that it is possible for that building to essentially become safe with a patio?
So you're saying replace the plywood, replace the I-joists, replace the PSL beams, reinforce the foundations, already have left the steel posts. Cut down the steel post to 15 feet 6 inches, or fix it 15 6 inches, that is the post. And then reroute the blocks under the brick wall, reinforcing all that things there. And to do all that things, so mind how's that beneficial not tearing down the roof? And on top of that, we're trying to working on our existing conditions that really not much is saving after you took all those things out.
Well, I'm not asking you about the monetary stuff. I'm asking you, as an expert, as a structural engineer, if there's a way to make that building safe so that that patio and roof can sustain earthquakes and be safe and not be a concern for the residents of Hemet.
What it needs to say is, like I mentioned earlier, it's disconnected. Don't tie to the brick wall. Via another engineering plan to show how it is shown this building up, this 2-story building up. Re-engineer, put a shear wall, put a brace fan, put a new foundation, those can be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's more like a rebuild, and that costs more than two buildings. Just to come up with it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm understanding you that yes, there's a possible, well, more than one solution to potentially make those buildings along with that patio with the roof safe and safer than what it is now. Yes?
To answer your questions, anything is possible. Yes, you can do it. You just get everything. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, you said could be a lot when you were discussing your exhibits. So, it could be possible here too, right?
As I mentioned earlier, you take out the plywood, replace the plywood, replace the I-joist, replace the PSL beam, cut down the column, strengthen the foundations. Yes, you can. That's like a new design already.
Okay. And I want to be clear because I'm nitpicky. This isn't two-story. It's a patio with a cover, right?
A two-story has a roof and a floor. It's considered two-story.
But there's no walls, right?
It doesn't have to have a wall. A mobile frame steel post system that is designed properly does not have to have a wall.
Okay. So you believe that it's a two-story?
But the way it is right now, it is two-story.
Well, and it's not. When you looked at it a couple weeks ago, it didn't appear to be finished, did it?
It's not finished, but it will be finished. It's two stories. It has a roof and a floor on it.
And I think that you indicated earlier that you were unsure if the seismic retrofit had previously occurred on the buildings, correct?
So I did not say that. I did not answer that question.
Okay. Well, I don't think I asked the question. I think Your Honor did.
That's the question. Did the existing building have retrofit? There is signs that it did with retrofit. It was strengthening. Obviously, it was strengthening. Not retrofit strengthening.
Okay, so you're saying that was done, right?
That was a sign that is done. There's a
Okay.
frame in there.
Okay.
You mentioned there was some strengthening. Was the block wall strengthened?
Block wall was strengthened with steel posts. Block walls is strengthened with steel posts inside existing buildings. What we're talking about now is a two-story. I believe I unlocked is two-story, correct? Well, I don't know about the existing buildings too. If I know about the existing building too, I need to look at more for the details on that. My scope was to understand the two stories. I looked at the two-story portion, how that all works.
Okay. I think that the clarification is that a lot of your positions contingent on the wall falling down. And then, so that's attached to the patio. So then what his question is that if it has that wall that might fall down, has that been reinforced?
That wall, currently I'm looking at it, has some type of steel system strengthening it now. I wouldn't say reinforce it in any way. Strengthening is another way of using it. Because reinforce to what code or what kind of seismic condition we're looking at. Strengthening it just to hold it in place because it has issue to understand how much this is strength. But we adding two-story to it, tied to the middle of the floor. That's a major concern because now we're asking the wall to carry a lot more load than the design intent. Even if it's reinforced it or strengthened it, it does not in strength or reinforce the carry a two-story building attached to it.
Okay, so given that there's a steel post in the reinforced wall, you still have the same concern that it might fall down, given that it's tied to two-story structure, right?
The way it is strengthening it, it has a post in it, vertical, with plate anchor tied to it. If you want to, I can show you some pictures in that we have.
Okay.
Okay. Those posts will anchor certain locations only. We have a ledger that goes across getting a floor load. That's an anchor to a proxy or tie to the block. In an earthquake, it will pull that block. Has nothing to do with the reinforcement of that wall.
And just real quick, you looked at the plans to describe the footings, is that right? And did you also look at the most recent set of plans?
I did.
And are the way the footings are described in those plans, are they the same as what you had shown in the diagram today?
Very similar.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Chief Committee, does the city have any other witnesses? Okay, so the city rests, it's gonna be identical to the last time, we're gonna come back in March, and say that it'll be done in 30 minutes. Is that fine? You said it was signed. Okay, so you'll present the case after lunch, in the city rest right now. You're good. So let's go back, let's be back here by 1. Appreciate it. All right.
It's happening. It's working still, so. I hope so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all, folks.
How many of us sandwiches? What's the house? Yeah, take great. Hey. Boo-boo is in here. It's right here.
All right, guys, they are going to take a lunch break, and then we'll continue this after 1 o'clock.
Would you be able to be here at 1? If we could get you up first? I think